It's 2012 and Citra and Hoyt are at war with each other over the control of the Rook Islands for quite some time. Citra Tulugma is the leader of the Rakyat tribe, a warrior society that has likely ruled the Rook Islands for centuries, and they have mastered the propaganda of indoctrinating their soldiers through drugs. Hoyt Volker is in charge of a highly organized and thoroughly corrupt criminal enterprise that has seized control of a significant portion of the Rook Islands. Its primary source of income comes from kidnapping and selling people from all around the world to forced labor or ransoming them in case they're rich. Also, via brutalizing the locals, he has taken over all their lands to manufacture drugs. And while these two factions are at war with each other, a dum-dum clueless tourist named Jason Brody arrives to skydive on the island with his friends and family, and immediately gets captured by Hoyt's most powerful vassal, Vas Montenegro, and he is planning to ransom them. Vas oversees the drug production of the Northern Islands in the name of Hoyt, and Vas's regime is absolutely crazy, man. He and his men operate more like junkie cultists than a real army. They're constantly high, violent, and unpredictable, like a gang of armed junkies following a mad prophet. And he's also overseeing the current war against the Rakyat tribe. And Craven Jason escapes Vas's camp with his soul brother Grant, but alas, when they have nearly escaped unseen, Vas shows up and kills Grant. And Jason has his first kill and escapes with help from one of Citra's most loyal vassals, Dennis Rogers, who oversees the Amanaki village in Citra's name. And even before Jason wakes up, Dennis has begun grooming and tattooing him to fight for the Rakyat, because times are desperate and the Rakyat have lost control of 90% of their territories, and they need soldiers. Jason tells Dennis that he just wants to save his friends and brother, Oliver, Daisy, Keith, Lisa, and Riley. So Dennis immediately cranks up the flattery, telling Jason he's destined to be a great warrior, so he can use him later. And he wastes no time in turning Jason into a killer, teaching him how to activate radio towers, hunt animals, and basically turning him into Far Cry Bear Grylls with a rocket launcher. During his training, Jason gets a chilling call on the phone he stole from Vas's camp, a pirate bragging about having fun with Lisa and the outpost near Amanaki. And after hearing this, Dennis immediately takes an expedition in the outpost. And here, Jason officially kills for the first time for the Rakyat, and they successfully take over the outpost. But Lisa has escaped, and before Jason can panic, Dennis arrives with news. A doctor named Earnhardt has found one of his friends. So Jason arrives at Earnhardt's mansion, and Earnhardt is a drug addict chemist who produces illicit drugs and sells them to Vas's pirates and black markets for a living. And honestly, this man is far higher up in the food chain than Walter White ever went. Secretly, he's a sympathizer of Citra's regime, and he has rescued Jason's dead brother's girlfriend, Daisy, and she is mostly fine aside from a few bruises. And after hearing about Grant's death, her eyes do that 1,000-yard stare thing, like she's halfway between here and hell. Jason begs the doctor if he can bring the rest of his friends here when he finds them. The doctor initially refuses, but the moment Daisy asks, he caves immediately. Maybe she reminds him of his dead wife or something. Later, Jason raids one of Vas's communication hub, a broken ship called the Medusa. There he uncovers Vas is planning on taking ransom money from his friend's parents and later selling them anyways. And shortly after, Jason receives a call from Dennis, who urgently informs him that Vas is leading an expedition to attack Amanaki village. So Jason quickly arrives at the village, and Dennis instructs him to infiltrate Vas's logging camp south of the village, where pirates are gathering supplies for the attack, and to destroy all the weapons and ammunition there to halt Vas, because there's no way the Rakyat will survive a direct assault from Vas's forces. And Dennis frames it as a humble request, and poor Jason doesn't even realize that he's being used as a cannon fodder for a desperate cause. But as this is a video game, Jason goes there and successfully destroys the supplies and saves the village from a certain slaughter. Later, using intel Jason uncovered from the Medusa, he goes to Pirate Cove, located at southwest of Amanaki, where Vas shoots his ransom videos. Jason hopes to rescue Lisa, but walks straight into a trap and gets himself captured by Vas's men instead. And when Jason is brought in front of Vas, Vas becomes furious after seeing Jason's tattoos, because they resemble an allegiance to Citra. And here he reveals that Citra is his sister, and he used to be one of the Rakyat, and says to Jason that California boys got a hard on jungle fever, and the only way to remove him now is to raise him completely. So he leaves Jason and Lisa to burn, but Jason and Lisa make a dramatic escape after a drive-by shootout, and Lisa is traumatized after the things she saw on this island, and Jason tries to comfort her by promising he'll get them out of this nightmare. So he takes her to Earnhardt's mansion, where the doctor has now told Daisy to hide in a cave beneath the house to avoid pirate patrols, and Daisy has found a boat down here, a boat that just might be their ticket out this island, if they can fix it. But before Jason can start planning their getaway, Dennis calls, and he says if Jason truly wants to save his friends, he must meet Citra. Meanwhile, Vass, after suffering a massive blow from Jason raiding his staging ground, and also losing him from right under his nose even after capturing him, he decides to hold off from making any further attacks in Rakyat territory for some time. A quick side note, in Far Cry 3 the territorial exchanges happen by Jason taking outposts, but the outposts are actually side content and the main story doesn't change if Jason doesn't take any outposts. So I'm trying to explain how the territorial exchanges among the Rakyat and Hoyt likely look like just from the main story. Back to the video. Jason arrives at the Rakyat capital, which is a grand temple that is bigger than any other building in the whole islands. Jason goes inside with Dennis and finally meets Citra, and asks for her help to save his friends, and Citra tries to dismiss him immediately, thinking he's just another outsider with a gun and a sob story, but later she gets impressed with Jason's confidence and gives him a chance in the most Rakyat way possible by handing him some drugs and ordering him to bring her what has been lost. And this is where we get our first glimpse of Rakyat soldier indoctrination. After taking the drugs, Jason sees his friends, his brother, a shantytown, and a man wearing a white suit, and an ancient knife. And Citra has indirectly ordered Jason to bring the knife, and then she will consider helping him. And the Rakyat indoctrinating every one of their soldiers through mysticism, drugs, and whispers of destiny is mighty impressive. Dennis later tells Jason the location of the shantytown, and without wasting any time, Jason goes to Badtown. And this town absolutely lives up to its name. It's filthy, has ugly prostitutes, the infrastructure is dirty, and most of the people who want to hide from either of the faction of the island usually end up here, just like our mysterious man in a white suit whom Jason meets shortly after. His name is Willis Huntley, who is a CIA agent, and he's here to do something he won't tell Jason about, but he wants to bring Hoyt to the Northern Islands, which he's going to achieve by making Jason burn some drug fields south of Badtown. In return, he offers Jason information about his friends Oliver and Keith, and he also gives Jason a flamethrower. So Jason goes to the drug fields and burns the weed trees with the flamethrower. After returning to Huntley, he shows Jason a tape of a tapped conversation between Vass and Hoyt, where Hoyt is very angry about Jason's recent doings and gives Vass a sharp command to deal with Jason Brody as soon as possible. And they've also given Jason a nickname, Snow White. Also, Hoyt is coming to the Northern Islands after the recent disruption of his drug production, but there's a problem. He's arriving in Barristown, where a local has Oliver's transportation manifest. So Jason rushes to Barristown to save the contact named Rongo, and after a big firefight, Jason saves Rongo, and Rongo gives Jason the transportation manifest, where he learns the location where Oliver is going to be sold. And Jason arrives just on time and saves Oliver and takes him to Earnhardt's mansion. Unlike Daisy and Lisa, Oliver is also another milky rich frat boy like Jason was in the beginning of the game. And by now, Jason has become quite the impressive soldier from a dumbed-up tourist. And before Jason leaves the cave, Lisa stops him and she tells him that she loves him, and she's worried that Jason carrying all these tattoos and killing all these people will affect his state of mind in a negative way. But Jason dismisses it by saying he's taking control of his life for the first time, and leaves. Soon after, he receives a call from Huntley, and he gives Jason information about Keith, a hitman named Buck who works for Hoyt has recently bought him, who also lives in Badtown. After returning to Badtown, Jason meets with Buck and quickly learns that this depraved lunatic has been using Keith for his own twisted gratification while keeping him imprisoned, and he will return Keith to Jason if Jason can bring him the same knife Citra is after. So Jason sets off on a brutal scavenger hunt, raiding one of Vass's ships, exploring 3 ancient trap-filled underground temples, and eventually finding the knife. And when he brings it to Buck to make the exchange, Buck doesn't want to give up Keith, probably because he's having too much fun with him. So Jason and Buck have a knife fight in which Jason kills Buck and takes Keith to Earnhardt's mansion. And Keith is absolutely broken after being abused so badly, and he's probably going to take a few years to recover from this incident. Later, Keith tells Jason that Vass has killed Riley, and this hits Jason like a sledgehammer, and he gets absolutely furious. He no longer wants to just escape the island. He now wants revenge by killing both Vass and Hoyt. Lisa tries to comfort him and make him understand that it's over and he no longer needs to fight anymore, but there's no stopping him now. So Jason goes to Citra and presents her the ancient knife, and Citra is very impressed with Jason for bringing this ancient symbolic knife back, and she sees the potential in Jason. And when Jason tells her that he wants to kill Vaas and Hoyt, Citra sees her chance. She realizes that this broken, angry, and mentally unraveled and capable warrior can be turned into exactly what she needs, a weapon who can be manipulated to do her bidding. So she takes Jason into the temple's history chamber and starts weaving her story, a myth about a demon who once tried to destroy the Rook Islands, and a legendary warrior who rose to defeat it. And now a new demon has come, and Jason is the chosen warrior who will stop it. And Jason, he buys into it completely. Later, when Jason is leaving the temple, Dennis informs him that the Rakyat are going to ambush Vaas's convoy of prisoners in Churchtown, and orders Jason to go there immediately. Jason sets up the ambush expecting Vaas's pirates to roll in, but instead heavily armed mercenaries arrive, Hoyt's men. It's clear that Hoyt is sending reinforcements to the Northern Islands, likely because his proxy war through Vaas is starting to crumble. And Vaas, failing to gain any more ground, needs all the help he can get, but fortunately the ambush succeeds, and most of Hoyt's reinforcements are wiped out before they can reach Vaas. But alas, Jason gets captured again, this time by Vaas himself. After Jason wakes up, Vaas gives Jason his famous definition of insanity dialogue about how doing the same thing over and over again is insanity. And he's also talking about himself here, about how he has already killed Jason twice already, but Jason keeps showing up again and again. And after his speech, Vaas throws Jason underwater with bricks tied to his legs, but Jason, being Jason, escapes this too, and tries to fight his way out of the camp and hijacks a chopper. But the chopper gets shot down, and Vaas appears once more, and puts a bullet straight into Jason's chest. But Jason survives. The bullet didn't kill him. It hit the lighter Vaas himself shoved into Jason's pocket earlier, which is very ironic. Later, he returns to the temple and Citra welcomes him with another trial, another dose of Rakyat's hallucinogenic brew. This time, the test is spiritual. He must confront and defeat a monstrous demon in his vision. If he succeeds, Citra promises that he will become the Rakyat's ultimate warrior. So Jason takes the drug, dives into his dream, battles the demon, and defeats it. And when he wakes up, Citra is on top of him, literally having sex with him in front of all the Rakyat elites. And this is no longer just right. This is a coronation. Jason has now become the Rakyat's chosen, their leader's consort, their warrior king. And Jason, high on adrenaline, psychedelics, and a rapt sense of destiny, gives a strong speech on how he will defeat Vaas and Hoyt and bring the Rakyat to glory. And soon after, Jason tracks down Vaas at his heavily guarded headquarters and goes to finish him for good. And after a lot of fighting, Jason successfully infiltrates the main building, but Vaas puts a knife on Jason's heart. And I don't know how this miracle is possible, but Jason goes on a drug trip after it, where he sees all kinds of stuff, kills Vaas, and passes out. After a while, he wakes up near Citra, and Citra tells him that Vaas is dead, and explains to him how Vaas used to be a respected and powerful member of the Rakyat elite, and how Hoyt lured him away with money and drugs, and turned him into a monster. And Jason, now fully committed to his new path, promises Citra that he will make Hoyt pay for what he has done to both Citra and his brothers. Also, he says he is going to stay here on this island as Citra's consort, and leave his past life and friends behind. And with Vaas dead, the tide of war shifts. The pirates start a civil war amongst each other on who will succeed Vaas, and the Rakyat take advantage of this situation and start reclaiming their lost territory back from the pirates in both their eastern and western front. Before going to the South Island, Jason stops by Dr. Earnhardt's mansion to say goodbye to his friends, and Lisa gets completely heartbroken after hearing this. She tells him that she's waited so long for Jason to grow up, to stop being a spoiled thrill-seeker and become a man. And now that he finally has, he's leaving her. But as Jason has now completely bought into the Rakyat ideology, there's nothing she can do to stop him. After the sad goodbyes, Jason calls Huntley to ask for help to kill Hoyt, but Huntley's mission on this island has been compromised, so he's leaving the island soon. However, as a last favor, he gives Jason a ride to the southern islands. Willis also gives Jason a crucial piece of information. He has an agent inside Hoyt's organization named Sam Becker, who can help him in killing Hoyt. And the South Island is a military-industrial hellscape controlled with an iron fist by Hoyt Volk, and it seems most of the natives here have been killed or sold, and this land is exclusively used for drug production and Hoyt's other operations. And eventually, Jason meets Sam, a man who's been embedded in Hoyt's organization for quite some time. He's climbed the ranks and now stands firmly within Hoyt's inner circle. On the surface, Sam is just another brash mercenary, but beneath is a sharp, seasoned intelligence officer who's been secretly feeding information to the CIA for years. And when Jason reveals his plan to assassinate Hoyt, Sam doesn't hesitate. He's all in. Together, they make a plan. Jason will infiltrate Hoyt's organization by posing as a newly recruited privateer, and from the inside, he'll begin sabotaging Hoyt's operations. Their goal here isn't just to kill Hoyt, it's to collapse the entire organization he's built. And to kick things off, Sam gives Jason the location of a fresh group of recruits, where he can steal a uniform and begin his undercover journey. So Jason infiltrates the recruitment site and steals a uniform and takes on the name Foster. As the recruits are being escorted deeper into the facility to listen to Hoyt's speech, a fellow privateer asks Jason if he wants in on a little sweet corruption money. And Jason sees this as an opportunity. He can kill them and prove they were corrupt to earn Hoyt's trust. Then comes Hoyt's cold and terrifying speech, and in it, to prove how severely Hoyt cracks down on corruption, he literally burns one of his employees who got caught indulging in corruption in a furnace in front of everyone. Later, as Jason starts working on gathering evidence on the traitors, chaos starts brewing elsewhere. Pirates from the north have started raiding northern coastal drug fields of the South Islands, likely in retaliation of some of Hoyt's recent orders they didn't like. And the death of Voss is turning out to be a political earthquake for Hoyt. The pirates are constantly ignoring his orders and fighting amongst themselves to fill the power vacuum left by Voss, while the Rakyat are also taking back more and more territory back day by day. Jason, after a few days of investigating and fighting, gathers enough evidence on the traitors to expose them, and with Sam being one of Hoyt's most trusted lieutenant, he arranges a meeting between the two. In the meeting, Jason shows the evidence of the traitors, and Hoyt, always being cold and calculating, offers a rare nod of approval, and he talks about the greatness of his human trafficking organization and how he has turned it into a global enterprise. And just to make a point, he casually detonates a few hostages downstairs. Apparently, their families refuse to pay the ransom, and he indirectly offers Jason a big promotion if he can do more good work in the future. And for now, he orders Jason to interrogate and gather information on a prisoner downstairs of his compound. After arriving at the cell, Jason is shocked that the prisoner is his little brother Riley, but he is forced to put on a brutal act because Hoyt is watching the whole thing on camera from upstairs. But luckily, Sam is able to shut down the camera for a moment and the brothers reunite, and Jason promises to save him. Hoyt seems impressed with Jason's performance and invites him and Sam to a poker game. And after Hoyt leaves, Sam makes a plan of destroying Hoyt's organization quick. First, they will destroy Hoyt's communication towers and then his fuel depot, which should draw most of Hoyt's private army away from his compound, making it easier to kill him. On the way to the comm towers, Jason calls Daisy and urges her not to leave until he returns with Riley, but the conversation sparks doubt in his mind if he will truly stay on this island with the Rakyat or leave with his friends when it's over. And he also starts doubting the person he has become. He also receives a call from Dennis, and Jason makes it very clear that he's having second thoughts about embracing the Rakyat path, which deeply worries Dennis. Despite the growing emotional weight and uncertainty, Jason and Sam execute the plan flawlessly, bringing down the comm towers and reducing the fuel depot to ashes before nightfall, and they arrive on Hoyt's poker game just on time. Everything seems to be going as planned at first, but Hoyt suddenly stabs Sam in the neck, revealing that he has found out about Jason's true identity from his little reunion with his brother, and is furious at Jason for destroying half his organization, so he decides to play one final twisted game. They return to the poker table, but with new stakes. Jason will lose a finger for every lost hand. And as Hoyt starts cutting off Jason's ring finger, another miracle happens and Jason suddenly goes on another drug trip, where he has a knife fight with Hoyt and successfully kills him. Later, on his way to the airport to save Riley, he receives a call from Lisa asking for help, but the connection gets lost, and after a huge firefight with the privateers at the airport, Jason escapes with Riley on a chopper with a lot of shooting. Meanwhile, it is likely that the Rakyat have taken over the entirety of the Northern Islands and by now are staging an expedition southeast of the islands to launch an invasion of the Southern Islands. After Jason arrives at Earnhardt's mansion, the situation seems bad. The mansion is burning and the old doctor is mortally wounded and is lying on his guard. And with his last words, he tells Jason that Citra's men have taken his friends with them. So Jason immediately takes a chopper to Citra's temple, and upon arriving, Citra immediately drugs Jason and he's plunged into yet another hallucinogenic Rakyat ritual. This time the visions are darker and more manipulative. Jason is hailed as a legendary warrior, promised a life of glory, power, and worship. The Rakyat will bow before him, they say, and whispers come that his friends are holding him back, that they'll drag him back to a meaningless life while he was born for this island. And when the vision ends, Jason finds himself holding a blade to Lisa's throat. In the first ending, Jason refuses to let go of his friends and tells Citra that he is done with this warrior life path and all the bloodshed. And after hearing this, Dennis gets furious that Jason is refusing Citra's love and tries to stab him, but Citra stands in the way, so he accidentally kills Citra. And even though in this ending Jason gets to go home, this ending has far deeper consequences. Citra doesn't have any successors, so with her death, the Rakyat elites are surely going to start a civil war over succession, and all this hard progress to defeat Hoyt will now go in vain. And the war with the remainder of Hoyt's men will likely take way longer to complete, or it might not even get completed at all. Maybe the privateers will come out on top and taking control of the islands. Yes, Jason saved his friends, but in doing so, he may have doomed the islands into a far longer conflict. In the joint Citra ending, Jason kills his friends and buys into the warrior mentality 100%, believing it's his destiny to stay on this island with Citra, and while he's having sex with Citra, she pulls out a knife and kills Jason and says to him that their child will be her perfect successor. And in my opinion, this ending is absolutely dogshit. I mean, what was the point of feeding Jason all this Rakyat propaganda to keep him if you're just gonna kill him anyways? If it was about legitimacy, most of the Rakyat elites support Jason. Hell, they worship him. Surely no one would have minded this outsider being Citra's consort. Anyways man, in this ending, Jason is the ultimate loser. He unalives his friends and later gets unalived himself. Sure, in this ending, the Rakyat will take back control of the whole Rook Islands, but it's a very sad end for Jason and his friends. I mean, the whole game is very sad to see Jason being used by Citra and Dennis as a pawn, but you get my point. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and you can also check out my last Mass Effect video if you're interested. Peace be upon you.